Sorry about. By the way, we're filming everything. We're gonna have it all online anyway. But we can swap out tuning slides, and when you talk to our sales guy Charlie, and brass, bronze, and nickel is a very wide amount of change too. So okay, so I've got the brass slide in, and I've got my essentially 1.5D in, and these are the first notes of the day. So those of you watching at home, easy. And it's a trumpet. You know what I mean? It's a very resonant trumpet that really holds the road when you step on the gas. And it's really super stable, and it doesn't take a lot of gas in order to get it to redline. Every horn has a built-in F, which is pretty appreciated. Very zippy horn, even without a lead piece in it. A D cup is not an aggressive mouthpiece. So it's a flamethrower when you want it to be. Otherwise. That B cup that does not cut you off in the upper register, it's just as easy to play, a double G for sure. It's just you're going to get a very different tone quality, like you just heard. So. That's the universal. With the right mouthpiece and the right tone quality, you can still get as much soloistic character quality, personality as that's pretty much on you. But then if you swap out the brass slide for a bronze slide, that definitely thickens the sound up. Right, so you got that on that side, but then classical would be like. It does the job, absolutely, for sitting in a classical section, especially if your section is a little bit on the brighter side. Otherwise, we'll get there right after this to the classic models, but. It's a beast. It's a hell of a sports car for doing commercial and lead stuff. And it's like, instead of, it never ever gets brittle. Even if you pop in, here's a 3 small, so we're talking like a 3 or even a 5E, not a big cup. There's never a moment when you're like, ooh, that's ugly. It's really exciting, but it never gets brittle. It never, does that thing when, it's like, okay, we've crossed a line somewhere a while ago. Please point that in the other direction, sir. It never hits that, and I think mostly that has to do with the bronze that's on here. The bronze tuning slide certainly helps, but the bronze flare also just adds a beautification filter, I think, when you're talking about really stepping on the gas. Then we get to the classic models. I'll start with the one-piece yellow brass. This is Ryan Kaiser is playing one of these in Lincoln Center now, and pretty soon we'll have one in the Concertgebouw Orchestra, and shortly thereafter, with all the orders we've been getting, we're going to have some of these things everywhere. But it's the goal here was we're gunning straight for Bach. You can feel free to never play your Bach again after you've tried this horn. That's kind of the size and character of the sound that we're going for. So here's on the 2XL2. And that just lights up even easier for me than the universal. Like at an even softer dynamic level, the sound is everywhere. It's just a shiny thing. Super, super stable. Now we're talking mean classical. You know, that's for all your symphonic needs. This will definitely take care of it, and it does. Every note is just, it just feels like you're on track, like you're on rails, you know, and that's a wonderful feeling. The reason why I describe this as an optimized Bach or 37 kind of vibe is because it has the same. With your eyes closed, it'll scratch the same itches. You know, for people who are expecting a particular range of tone quality and size and shape of sound, you'll still get that, but without any of the intonation problems and without it changing pitch depending on the volume you're playing at, which is a thing not everybody's conscious because fish don't know that they're in water. They grew up in it. It's, you know, nobody explained the concept to them. And we grow up playing trumpets that go flat the louder you play and sharp the softer you play. Our trumpets don't do that, and there are very few brands in the world that can say the same. So there's that. It's just, and Bach is not one of them, nor is Yamaha. So that feeling of stability, that consistency, no matter what volume you're playing at or what range you're in, everything is always just going to be the same intonation, always, and it becomes a lot easier to access mastery when you've got all those variables thrown away. You know, you don't have to worry about any of it. Every note lives in one spot and only one spot, regardless of the context that you find yourself in, and regardless of the mouthpiece that you put in it. You know, ranging from extremely shallow to extremely deep. So that means that really, if you sort of go in and look at the root programming in our brains of what we're forcing our bodies to do in order to compensate for all the freaky weird stuff that trumpets do, based on the volume you're playing at and the combinations of different mouthpieces, you just throw away all that code and all that stuff you get to delete. You end up with a much smaller manual of, hi, my name's Adam and this is what I'm doing to play the trumpet. And the simpler you can make that job, the more time you can spend being musical, you know, and just enjoying the social aspect and the musical aspect of the music, instead of, you know, constantly concerning yourself with the technique and stressing about taking a few days off, God forbid, you know, because once you do, you come back on the horn or you're all over the place. But that's not on you. That's the horn's fault. You know, that has to do with the horn and the mouthpiece and the kind of environment that they set you up with, you know, and either conducive towards your success or not. So this horn is really just kind of, it is the optimized experience of what most people are looking for when they're playing on a Bach or Yamaha. They're fitting into a very traditional soundscape and they're just looking for easy. Well, here's easy. Here's easier. So I'm looking forward to hearing you play these. But quick little demo difference between the two classic models that have this one with the one-piece yellow brass and this one with the phosphor bronze flare. So you can hear not just like one tone, but the sort of an oscillation of tones. You can hear on the brighter side of it and on the darker, the more contracted side. So with that sound still in your head. Clearly cut from the same cloth, but there's a difference in tone. which I think you could probably appreciate more in a bigger room, but it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's like some people like this color green the best, some people like that color green, you know, but it's there are 2 different options to get you even closer to that optimal tone. And it's funny how, I mean, it's maybe I'm jinxing this by saying it ahead of time, but almost every single time that somebody play tests these, they definitely have a preference, and they say that the other one is harder to blow. It's the same exact geometry. So there's some interesting psychosomatic relationship there between the sound that you're hearing and what you think you need to do with your body in order to get closer to that sound that you're searching for or whatever. So keep that in mind, that it's really, they are exactly the same horn. And me being the princess and the pea, I can vouch for that. They don't blow differently. But they just, you know, they have slightly different tones. Right, so that was the universal and the 2 options for the classic model, and those are not the same bell shape, but they're in the same kind of, we'll say, weight class. The final stop along that way is the solo model, which starts with the same geometry at the early part of the bell. Start with the brass slide in, and then we graduate to something that's a bit more open. So. You know, that's a different tone. I mean, if I just noodle around here for just a moment on even the darker of these 2. That's a lot more sound, you know, but it doesn't blow any differently. That's kind of the thing, is that you just feel that same amount of healthy resistance, and it just feels quite supportive in your efforts. Then you put the nickel slide in here. So you get something that's both fat and rich, but also has this, like, you know, has teeth in it. You know, like if I want to, you know, role play Roy Hargrove or something like that, I would do it with this horn, right? And that's just, this is with an enormous, this is a 1.5 B that I'm playing. Keep that in mind, you know. So if I switch to a medium cup, which is like the equivalent of a Bach D cup, it's a lot, and it's really, really deceptively easy to get all that tone. So one of the things you'll want to watch out for when you're playing these horns is not overblowing them. You know, you're accustomed to thinking that you got to push hard, you know, to a certain level in order to excite the horn and the mouthpiece, whatever, and also just to arrive at a type of resonance, a type of sound. But that's really sort of bullying the horn into producing tone. These horns really do not require that. They're not high maintenance. You just, you know, get vibration going, you know, and they as acoustical instruments that amplify sound will do a very good job without your overkill. So just explore that for that concept while you're playtesting these things. Now, here's probably the next size up, probably the next closest horn to that solo. Now we get into the full-on large size bells, and this one has been a top seller in years past, but at this point it's starting to get buried by the competition. This is our Universal Max, which has a lot of qualities. So I have to just play it. It's undeniably more sound than the other, but it's not that far away. They're in the same weight class in general, but this one takes more air. It's not sucking it out of you, but you can feel a difference in resistance. All of our horns are built on 460 valve blocks, so it's not nothing is large bore per se, but this has the vibe of a large bore horn because of the geometry in the bell, and so for that reason, that can be that can kind of go over the line for some people, and the degree to which resistance helps them, they might not find enough here. Deeper cut. That's a fun horn. It's a lot of horn, and it basically just sounds like a trumpet. Like a whole lot of trumpet. But then for our two other big horns with the same geometry, we get into more specialized tone qualities, like this Britannia silver, purer than sterling silver bell, which is a real pain in the ass to combine with a yellow brass stem, by the way, but totally worth our efforts. This is the one that Marcus Printup is using in Lincoln Center, and it's very, very interesting tone quality here. When you play soft, it's extremely warm. There's a lot of deep ooh in the sound, 300 hertz to 800 hertz, like a lot of cream. And then there's a lot of shine, especially when you step on the gas or you put in a mouthpiece that wants to go there. Not as many mids. That's kind of the differentiating factor with this sound, is that it's kind of like how Bose likes to make their headphones. Lots of sugar and salt and not all that much in the middle. So you got this extra special kind of sound. I'll pop in the medium cup to show you a little bit more what I mean there. There's a lot of that stuff in the sound, and just there's a lot of that wafting off the bell too. So it's a very, very interesting soloistic sound for sure. And I've gotten to hear Lincoln Center a few times in big rooms in the Concertgebouw in the Netherlands, and other, obviously in Lincoln Center in Rose Hall and some other places, and it's wonderful to hear what kind of intimate connection you can still you have to Marcus from the back of the hall. It's because there's the particular like resonance qualities of these horns, the way that they ring in your hand and everything. You've got this like whoop 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 kind of thing happening in the ears, and that whoop 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 travels the entire space. That whatever size space you're playing in. So that feeling that whoop 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 in our ears from like the 45th row kind of makes you feel like they're right there next to you, whispering sweet nothings in your ear, which is really, really cool quality. It was very interesting listening to Marcus from that far away for the first time, just going, wow, what a hell of a sound. There was only one trumpet in that section that had that kind of presence of sound, but it was a very different tone quality that was, comparatively definitely lacking in shine. And so to hear another horn that was like, wow, same weight class, but a more full-bodied, thing. It's all subjective, of course, but to my taste, and a lot of other people that were in the hall that would turn around and look at me like, oh my God, you sound so good in your horn. A lot of people I tend to agree that it's just it's a massive sound that's really quite interesting. It's basically where the silver flare is at, and the same description holds true for the Solo Max, but just in a different direction. That was this. Thankfully, our tuning slides are made perfectly, so they are interchangeable, like really interchangeable. The horns aren't put together with jigs, but the tuning slides are, and then the horns are made to fit to standardized tuning slides, so it's not a problem to mix and match. Right, Solo Max. I think I'm just going to go straight to my XL2 mouthpiece, the equivalent of a B cup, and show you the softer side first. You know, super creamy. I mean, it's all accessible there with that same kind of warmth and stability at pianissimo. You can really, really feel it hold the road. And then again, a 1.5 B on a big horn, a big bell. You know, it's the range of expression is ridiculous on this horn, and that has a lot to do, of course, the geometry being big. The final diameter of the bell goes to 5 3/4. It's not because the bell here opens up any differently than the others. It's just we just cut it off a little bit longer. And the stem being made in copper is kind of what gives it its unique quality, because copper. The reason why it's such a commonly used material for say bells of flugelhorns and stuff is because it's such a warm and creamy tone when you play soft, and on a flugelhorn you typically never go anywhere else, so copper is a good way to go. Thing is that for trumpets I find an entire copper bell to just not be enough. It's too soft of a material, I think, to include the flare in copper, because it's not as good of an amplifier. And when you step on the gas, especially, the what's getting projected has the potential to be a little bit brittle to my ears. So even with a copper stem, we still finish it off with a phosphor bronze flare, and that's a much more dense, rigid material. It's a real pain to work with, but it's totally worth it, because that adds a stability to and a consistency to your feeling of stability, even at the loudest dynamic levels. It never breaks up. The sound never starts to do what an all copper bell would do. So again, in terms of the optimization of materials and their placement, this is another really big victory, I think. So that was with a big mouthpiece. I'm just going to demonstrate really quickly one thing that I love about this horn. Here's these aren't for sale yet, but and only a few people have them. But Chris Bodie is one of them, who really loves his extra large cup. Basically, you can take the kids swimming in this mouthpiece. It's a big one. I mean, there's no brass left in that sound. It's just pure love. There's nothing else. But the thing is that the intonation is still absolutely flawless. And you can still step on the gas and it'll still get brassy. So this cup is awesome. I'm looking forward to being able to launch this and have some more folks play on it. But in the meantime, it's a nice way to also show off the range of expressive capacity with this horn. In tune. The reason why I can just hit that stuff and not strain while doing it is because the G, it still lives exactly in the perch where it should be, and it's not up here. It's just reach right forward and push the button. So that holds true to even the deepest of our mouthpieces. That is an accomplishment. But this horn is just really sweet for that. Even if you're playing a lead mouthpiece, this is like maybe like a 5E. There's still like such a power, a size to that sound. I mean, it's shiny, it's exciting, it's got all the things you'd expect when you pop in a lead mouthpiece. But you can also doing I actually like doing commercial gigs with a lead mouthpiece on this horn, because it blends so well with the tenor sax and the trombone. If you're doing a pop horn section, it's a very strange. I guess it may be coming from that Maynard school of small mouthpiece, big horn, and get the big boy sound. It's just really fun. I mean, that's a very different thing from, say, just take one of the classic models. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's a trumpet, and you didn't think that was a small sound at all when I was going like a beer flight from light to dark, you know. But then once you get to the big ones, you go, oh, I see. So it is a trade-off, isn't it? You know, this is more appropriate in on your section, you know, gigs for sure, you know, in your trumpet section playing. But if you get to play solos the majority of the time, you know, you're in front of the ensemble or you're the only trumpet in some kind of chamber ensemble, and it doesn't matter what horn you're playing on, then, you know, if the big bells feel comfortable in terms of how much resistance they offer you, then go there. And if not, then again, coming back to, we've got this, we got the solo model, which is sort of the porridge that's just right in between them, where you've got the sound much more akin to a large bell, and the blow of the smaller one. You know, and so, all right, that's a bit on the, that's certainly on the aggressive side. And this is a lead mouthpiece again, but. So I want one of these horns so that I can balance it out, where I've got one of these solo maxes, one of these, and then for other occasions where, you know, it really is, it's a lead job or something like that, then I'll switch to this one. I don't feel like I need to go any smaller than this in order to light people on fire, you know. It's like, you know, nobody's going to say, hey man, I wish your tone wasn't as thick when you were hurting me back then. So yeah, so that's the thing. We've got 3 large bell horns, 1 in the middle, and 3 smaller bell horns. The universal being the narrowest, and the classic models being something a little bit more open, especially in the throat of the bell stem. So that's where we're at. It's kind of, you know, same deal like with the mouthpieces, where we've got a tool for each job. We try to focus on tools in terms of what kind of jobs you're doing, and so yeah. So I guess maybe if you want to start, we can, you know, step right up.
Already gone earlier.
Oh, I didn't get to hear. Yeah, did you try the new stuff?
I did. Yeah.
What's
I like the classic.
Which one?
Yep, the brass, all brass.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So just the liveliest, most exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe it's how I approached the horn, but it felt like it responded a little quicker.
Did you try the solo with the nickel silver slide in?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah.
And that still wasn't.
It was cool. I liked it. I liked the tonal possibilities there.
Yeah.
Actually, with the nickel is, as you guys were saying, is like a lot livelier, but I think it plays really nice on the soft side as well.
Yep.
Which was a surprise to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So